And so today, some of the topics that I'll be covering is the student opportunities that we have with the Department of Water Resources, and also get you a little familiar with the application process, right? Sometimes the application process can be a little intimidating. So I am here to provide some tips to make it easier, smoother, and then I'll also be touching on some of the resources that we have available for you. So let's get started here. So again, a couple of topics that we'll be discussing. We have 6 topics that we are covering today. We have learning about the Department of Water Resources. Who are we? What do we do? Where are we located, right? So I am going to touch base on that a little bit. Of course, I'll be touching on some student opportunities. What do we have? What opportunities do we have for students? Number 3, the apprenticeship program, a great program that we have with the Department of Water Resources. Number 4, what is CalCareers? I know a lot of you have heard of CalCareers. What is that? We'll be going into that as well. And then I'll be jumping into the application process, right? For those that are interested in a state service opportunity, I will be jumping into how to navigate CalCareers and submit that application. And then lastly, I will be covering over our team. What do we do? What resources do we have to help you? So I will say that for any questions you have, you can type them in the chat, but we will also have a Q&A at the end to answer all of your questions. Awesome. So the first one here, a little bit about DWR, who we are, what do we do? So a little history here. Our department was actually established in 1956 by this California state legislator. We help manage California's water resources, systems, infrastructures, including the State Water Project, in a responsible and sustainable way. Our mission statement here is to sustainably manage the water resources of California in cooperation with other agencies to benefit the state's people and protect, restore, and enhance natural and human environments. So that's a little bit about what our department does, who Department of Water Resources is, but we do a little bit more as well. We also help protect and restore the Sacramento and San Joaquin Delta. We help regulate dams, provide flood protection, and we also assist in emergency management. So I know years ago there was an Oroville spillway situation, right? We had a great response team to assist with that. We also help educate the public about the importance of water and its proper use, and serve as local water needs by providing technical assistance and working with the local water agencies. So that's a little bit about the Department of Water Resources. Now, for those wondering, where are you located, right? So we actually have various locations throughout the state of California, from Sacramento, West Sacramento, Fresno, Pear Blossom, down to the Southern California, Bakersfield, Glendale, right? So we're located all throughout the state. We do have 5 big field divisions here. That's Oroville, Delta, San Luis, San Joaquin, and the Southern Field Division. So those are our 5 major field divisions throughout the state of California. So we, as a Department of Water Resources, I mentioned we're located all throughout California. What kind of job opportunities is there, right? So we have a ton of job opportunities. It depends on what you're interested in, right? We have apprenticeships. We have office support, communications and media with our public affairs office. We have craft and maintenance, engineering and scientific technicians. We also have IT, legal, printing trades, professional and analytical, research, and also science. So we definitely have a variety of opportunities. It all depends on what you're interested in, and we'll be covering that today. So a little quote here from our director of the California Department of Water Resources. This is Carlin Nemeth. So DWR strives to be an inclusive and supportive workplace that attracts top talent, invests in professional development, and fosters a thriving community of people who are well-equipped and motivated to tackle California's water challenges. And of course, we're always hiring, so definitely wanted to add that in there. So with working for the Department of Water Resources, I will add, there is a lot of benefits. And, these benefits can include from health, dental, vision, also work-life balance, which includes vacation leave, sick leave. It also includes holidays, right? All that good stuff. So To learn more about those benefits that the state service offers, here's a QR code that will take you straight to the page where you can learn more about the benefits that we offer. So essentially, it'll take you straight to that page that you see on the right-hand side, and you're able to just click through, learn a little bit more about the benefits. I definitely recommend looking into that before pursuing that state service. Look into a little bit about, what are some of the benefits, right? I see the list on the side here that says work-life balance, right? Learn a little bit about what does it mean, leave benefits, commute programs. I definitely encourage everybody to take a look at that. And again, you can do so by scanning that QR code. So, um, I've highlighted what is DW, what is the Department of Water Resources, what do we do? Now, let me jump into the student program. What opportunities do we have for you? So we have various opportunities here. So a little bit about the student program here. At DWR, we definitely understand that education comes first, and we want to make sure that we offer our student employers flexible work hours based off of your school schedules. So what's great about it is that managers are able to work with you, and they're flexible with your school schedule. So if you have a schedule for school and you still want to work and gain that experience, you can do so. Managers are definitely very flexible with that. And so with that student program, it offers valuable work experience. So if there was a particular type of experience that you were seeking to gain, for example, you're thinking, hey, I want to pursue some more of a office experience, I definitely recommend applying to those positions. It also helps build and expand your professional network. These opportunities definitely help to network, gain that experience through this program. You also receive hands-on training, which is definitely very important. And again, I mentioned it, flexible work hours. Managers are able to work with you on that schedule so that you are able to go to school and continue that student program. And of course, benefits, which I did highlight before. And with that student program, I definitely want to mention that there is no exam needed, and we will highlight that after. We will highlight that in a little bit, but you will hear for a lot of the positions with the state, there is an exam. You must gain the eligibility through the exam. But I'm here to say that for any student program, there is no exam. You don't need an exam. You just need the required application documents that need to be submitted before you submit that application. But I will add that it's a great program. Participants of the student program, they can enjoy the benefits, which includes that state service credits, sick leave, vacation credits, and also overtime compensations. So the student programs, what kind of classifications do we have for students? So I want to add that for the Department of Water Resources, our student program, it consists of 4 classifications. Um, so for our undergraduate and graduate students, we have the student assistant, we have the graduate student assistant, we also have student assistant engineering and architectural sciences, and we also have opportunities for high school students. So that is the youth aid. So I will add that the youth aid, that can be an opportunity for high school or undergraduate or graduate students. It all depends on what you are interested in. I will add that I know I mentioned, hey, we have 4 classifications, but we actually have a 5th one that's, is not often mentioned, which is the Fish and Wildlife Scientific Aid. So if there's anybody who is wanting to gain more of that hands experience, right? We have the Fish and Wildlife Scientific Aid. So essentially, there is 5 great opportunities for students to pursue. And again, the student program is a great program for anybody wanting to go to school and also obtain that experience with the state service. Student program is definitely something that I recommend. And again, I want to add, there is no exam that is needed for this. So I've highlighted the student program rights, but for those that are interested, now you're kind of wondering, what are some of those requirements? What do I need to have in order to pursue one of these opportunities, right? So a couple of the requirements here. For the youth aid, student assistant, and student assistants in engineering and architectural sciences, you must carry a minimum of 9 semester or 8 quarter units per academic term. For graduate student assistants, you must carry a minimum of 6 semester or 4 quarter units. And all students must maintain a 2.0 GPA per the academic term. And unfortunately, students who do not maintain the required GPA or carry the minimum number of units are subject to termination. But I do want to add that, you know, it's twice a year where we have a review for your transcript. So, twice a year we ask students who are working with the Department of Water Resources to submit their transcripts, right? We just want to do a transcript review, make sure everything is looking good, and we will work with you on that and communicate with you. But again, for any students who is interested in, you must carry a 9 semester or 8 quarter units, or that 6 semester 4 quarter units. You must have a 2.0, and again, if you don't maintain that GPA, it can be subject to termination. So there are, with the Department of Water Resources, starting off as that entry level, right, that student assistant, there is a lot of upward mobility, and I want to highlight some of those pathways for you. So the first one we have is the student assistant, the engineering and architectural. This is the upward mobility path for a student assistant who is pursuing this route, right? The student assistant being the entry level. From that, you have the engineer water resources, then you move up to the senior engineer, then you have a supervisory, then the principal engineer. So you can see that, it doesn't just stop at one level or two levels, right? There is a ton of upward mobility opportunity within the Department of Water Resources. I want to go ahead and highlight another one here, which is for environmental science, right? The entry level position being the environmental scientist. And then we have the senior environmental scientist. From that, we have the environmental program manager. And then we have the program manager too. So again, a ton of upward mobility for anybody who's interested in those STEM careers. Definitely a lot of upward mobility. Now, I also want to highlight the analytical route, right? The analytical route, there is different pathways for the analytical routes. As you can see, there's 3 different pathways, right? So there is office assistant, right? That is the entry level. Then we have the office technician. If you were thinking of going more of the supervisory route, you can see it in the orange yellowish color at the top here. We have the office technician, and then it goes to the analyst 2. As of January 1st, 2026, we went through a whole renaming convention of the different classifications that we have. So before that, we did not have the analyst 3 and 4. Now, as of January 1st, we have great news. We actually opened up 2 more analyst roles. So that includes the analyst 3 and 4. So anybody looking to pursue that analytical route, there is actually a larger pathway now. We have the analyst 1, analyst 2, analyst 3, analyst 4, and then we have the supervisory roles. As you can see, supervisor 1, supervisor 2, manager 1, and manager 2. If you were looking to pursue a different analytical route, we also have more of the executive routes and also the business services route. So with the analytical routes, there is also a pathway for that. So I've mentioned the student program, but I also want to mention we have another great program as well. That is the volunteer program. So the volunteer program is great because this actually helps you gain work experience in areas that you're interested in. So for example, say that you are interested in gaining maybe some office experience, right? And you want to gain that experience working in that office setting, and you want to get a feel for a certain division within our department, that is also an option, which is a volunteer program. So a little bit about the volunteer program. If anybody is interested in, there are some requirements. So for long-term volunteers, the service will be longer than 3 days, and you must be 16 years or older. If the volunteer is under 18 years or older, you will need a parent signature for that permission slip or a work permit. So just want to add that on there. And then for anybody who's looking for a short-term volunteer opportunity, the service will last it will be about 3 days or less, and you must be 18 years or older. So, for anybody who is interested in pursuing that volunteer program, a little bit about the process is, say you are interested in that program, there's an email here, volunteer@water.ca.gov. You will send an email with your interest in the volunteer program. What happens then is that the coordinator will send the administrative officers an email with your information, and they will go ahead and reach out to some of the managers to see if there is any volunteer opportunities. Um, Once they find a match, right? They find a match with the interest that aligns with the department that is looking for a volunteer, they will go ahead and reach back out to you to see if that's actually something that you're still interested in, right? So they'll go ahead and match you, reach out to you to see if that's something that you're still interested in. And then they will go ahead and process any documentation that is needed for you to pursue that great opportunity. And again, this is great for anybody that is seeking to gain experience. A little bit of experience in a certain setting, right? I definitely recommend the volunteer program. So another great program that we have here is what we call the apprenticeship program. This is a great program for anybody who's looking for a more hands-on experience, right? The Department of Water Resources offers a paid apprenticeship program that can lead to a fulfilling and lucrative career in a hydroelectric industry. The program combines hands-on learning, classroom instruction, and home study with supervised on-the-job training. And so what is needed for the apprenticeship program? There are 3 qualifications. The first, you must be 18 years or older. You must have a high school diploma or education equivalent, and you must have successfully completed the DWR Apprenticeship Civil Service Examination. So there is an exam for this program, and anybody who is seeking to learn more about this exam can reach out to the apprenticeship coordinator for information on the exam, the dates for it, and I will go ahead and give you that contact information. And so some of the 4 trades that we have with the apprenticeship program, we have 4 trades, right? The length in each program varies. It's about 3 to 4 years. We have the first one, the utility crafts worker apprenticeship. We have the hydroelectric plant operator apprentice, that's 3 years. We have the hydroelectric plant electrician apprentice, 4 years. And the last one, which is the hydroelectric plant mechanic apprentice, that is also 4 years. So for anybody that is interested in wanting to learn more about the apprenticeship program, if this sounds like something you're interested in, if you're more of a hands-on learner, this is a great opportunity. I recommend it. We have that QR code there that you can scan, and that will go ahead and take you to the apprenticeship page where you can find the apprenticeship coordinator's email. I definitely recommend, if it's something that you're interested in, reach out to them. They will be able to provide more information about the apprenticeship program. And what I wanted to do now is I wanted to share some of the images of some of the current students who are in that, or some of these students in the past who have participated in the apprenticeship. This is them in that program, right? They're getting that hands-on experience. So definitely great program to look into if that's something that you are interested in. So I've highlighted a lot of great opportunities for everybody. And I know now you're wondering, okay, I am interested in these opportunities. How do I get started? How do I apply? So I definitely want to jump into the application process and talk to you a little bit about that, on how to navigate CalCareers. And I know that for those that are familiar with CalCareers, it can be a little bit intimidating at the beginning. I promise you, after I give you some few tips, it will be a lot easier. But CalCareers, if you've heard of CalCareers, that is the one-stop shop of where you go to apply for any state service opportunity. For those that haven't heard CalCareers, I will go ahead and go through some information here that will be helpful. So essentially, CalCareers is the state of California's career website that helps job seekers find employment opportunities. I will add that users must create an account to apply online. This is also the website where you can take any exam or review any application status for any online applications that are submitted. And so there are a couple steps to submit that application. We have a search for a job you're interested in. We will talk about the exam, and then you apply. So I will be jumping into that and jumping into those steps now. So I know that you heard me say the word exam. There's an exam. Why do I need to take an exam? So, for any permanent full time positions, you must meet the eligibility through an exam. Applicants must complete the exam before or after applying for your respective classification. Since there are different type of exams, the exams may be in person or they can be online. It does depend on the classification type that you're hoping to apply for. And the questions for the exam, they also depend on the classification type. So the questions that you see for the exam, they're not all going to be the same. They're not all going to be the same questions for every classification. They will vary depending on that classification type. So, for those wanting to take that exam online, you can do so on CalCareers, and you will actually go ahead and select that tab to search for the exam for the classification you're interested in. So, you search that tab, you click on that exam tab there, it'll take you to a different screen there. You can enter the classification you're interested in. Say you are interested in engineer, water resources. You can go ahead and type that, it'll take you to that exam bulletin for it. So essentially, that is how to navigate that exam portion. Now, say you've already taken the exam, you are ready to start looking for those opportunities, right? So, applying to the states, I will be going over the online portion. To apply, you must have that account to submit that application. And again, you will go ahead and go to calcareers.ca.gov to look at those opportunities. I went ahead and added a QR code on here for anybody who's curious or wants to save the link. Go ahead and scan that QR code and it will go ahead and take you to the landing page. Again, this is where you can look for any job opportunities. You can go ahead and also view exams. And also view the status of your application. So again, if you want to save that, I recommend take a picture of that QR code, scan the QR code, and save that. So now you've gone to the landing page and you find a job that you're interested in it, right? So now you get to that job posting. Now what is on this job posting? What do I have to look out for, right? So things to look out for on the job posting here is the first one. You will find the minimum qualifications for that specific classification. And I want to add that the classification is actually the job class for a specific job. So for example, say you're looking for a contract analyst, right? That would essentially fall under that analyst one position. And I do have a typo on there, my apologies. That would fall under the analyst one classification, depending on that job description. So I recommend that when you are looking for a job and you're navigating through the job posting, look at that minimum qualification, minimum requirements for that specific classification. Get a little familiar with it. Another thing that you will find on that job posting is the duty statement. The duty statement actually describes the purpose of the position, the duties, the responsibilities, the purpose of the tasks, or any special requirements, right? I will add that there was a cool special requirement that I found on one of these job postings that I came across a few months ago. So it was actually for an environmental scientist, right? The environmental scientist had a special requirement that they must be able to swim a certain distance. And I thought that was so cool. I had never seen anything like that on a job posting, right? Where a job posting requires you to swim a certain amount of distance. So definitely something to look out for. And again, any special requirements will be listed in that duty statement. So we're still scrolling on that job posting. And the next thing that you will find is position details. This will give you all the information you need about that position as far as the working title, compensation. It'll also tell you maybe the number of positions, maybe there's multiple. It'll also tell you the work location, whether it's Sacramento, San Joaquin, Yolo County, LA County, whatever county it may be, right? The telework will also be on there, whether it's hybrid, in-person telework, you will also see that on there. And the job type, whether it's permanent, or full-time, you will also see that on there. So another important thing to look at. And we're still scrolling. Now we're actually scrolling through that, and we come across something called the statement of qualifications, and I will be jumping into that a little bit later as well. So the statement of qualifications is actually a document that is needed to be submitted. This is separate from your resume. So essentially, what will happen is they will ask you a question, a specific question that is tied to that job posting, which you must answer. For any statement of qualifications, there is always some instructions that is included on there. So if you come across that statement of qualifications, make sure that you follow the instructions down to the T, right? If it says single spaced, 12-point Arial font, you do as it says on there. And again, I will go ahead and address that a little bit later as well. And we're still scrolling down through the job posting here. The next thing that we see is the required application package documents. I always like to say this is one of the most important items on that job posting. This is everything that you need to submit for your application. So let's go down the bullet points together. So we have three things that are required. The first one, it says we must submit the application, the standard form 678. So that'll be the application. The second item here, a resume is required and must be included. So you must include the resume. And the third, the statement of qualifications, which we had highlighted in the special requirements, that is also that's something that needs to be included in the package. And it says see special instructions for additional details. So we had scrolled up. So in this instance, you will scroll back up to look at what the special instructions are and read through that. But essentially, I like to say this is one of the most important areas because this will actually tell you everything that you need to submit for that application package, right? And I will add that failure to add one of these items can be grounds for disqualification. So make sure that you read thoroughly on what is needed on there. When you are submitting a package, I will add it is a little bit hard to miss adding one of these items. When you are working on that application, it'll actually it'll say maybe resume, and it'll have a little red check mark. Once you upload that resume, the check mark will turn green. And that'll be the case for all the required documents that need to be submitted. So sometimes it's a little bit hard to miss these items, to not, miss adding them because, hey, you can't go on to the next screen until you submit those. So definitely one important thing to look at. And resume was one of the items that needed to be submitted for this application. And essentially, this is a summary of your personal information, your educational background, training, education, all that good stuff. It should represent all your qualifications for a particular position. And it is also very important to tailor your resume. So I always recommend when you are working on an application, pull up your resume, pull up that duty statement, and tailor your professional documents to that position. The resumes should include all relevant experience, education, any degrees received, training, certificates. I recommend adding all of that good stuff on your resume here. And this is an example of a resume template that we use here with the recruitment team. We have your name. This must be added. We recommend adding a phone number. Email is always recommended to add. If you are thinking of applying for a position, I recommend add your phone number, email. How are they supposed to get a hold of you, right? So that is one of the most important things to add. Again, a summary that conveys your qualifications for a position. We call it the career objective. Also, your education. That is also very important to add as it helps support your qualifications for a role. When you are adding your education, add the type of degree along with the completion year on your resume. That is also very recommended to add. And also, one of the most important things to add on here is your experience. List all of your work experience that you have on there. And any certificates that help support your qualifications for a role, that can also be included. I recommend adding any expiration dates if there are any expiration dates tied to that certificate. Now, statement of qualifications, we saw that in the application template, right? What is that? What is a statement of qualifications? So, a statement of qualifications is actually a selection instrument used to determine the qualifications of an applicant. This requirement will be listed under required documents. We saw that a couple slides ago. It'll be listed under required application package. So, if that is an item that needs to be submitted, you will see that under that area there. Questions for the SOQ can vary depending on the job functions. So, any question that is listed on any job posting for a statement of qualification, that is a very unique question to that job posting. So, all job postings, they will have very, very different questions depending on the role, on what is needed. So, again, the questions are very unique to that job posting. If it's required, questions for the SOQ will be listed in the job posting. Just as we saw, it would be listed under the required application package, and it told you, hey, go ahead and go back up to special instructions. That's where you can find the question. So there will be two types of questionnaires you will see. You will see supplemental questionnaire or statement of qualifications. Again, this is an instrument to determine the eligibility here. I recommend follow the instructions listed in the SOQ or the supplemental questionnaire. I recommend if it says, "Hey, do not exceed one page," please do not exceed one page. And also provide a response to all the questions that are listed. Answer to the best of your ability. And again, like I mentioned before, the SOQ question will vary depending on the needs of the department. So, if there are very particular needs of that department, they will go ahead and tailor that question a bit more to the needs of the department. But again, when you are working on that application package, which includes resume, or if an additional document is needed, like a supplemental questionnaire, statement of qualifications, or maybe cover letter is needed, right? What I recommend is pull up that duty statement, read through that duty statement thoroughly, and essentially try to tailor your professional documents to that duty statement, add your relevant experience to that application package. Another thing that should be tailored is your application. So again, reading that duty statement becomes very helpful. One of the things that I did when I first started is I would print out the duty statement and I would highlight. I would start highlighting, circling some buzzwords where I can add those buzzwords to my application. So essentially, make sure to tailor your application documents to that duty statement. So I know I've gone through a ton of information, and there might be questions on how to navigate that. I want to talk to you all about our team, the Recruitment and Workforce Planning team, how we are here and how we can help you. So we actually offer assistance to the public. Any job seekers looking for assistance, we can help you. We can help you build a CalCareers account, resume building, help you with your statement of qualifications, help you review it, right? Or also, help you conduct a mock interview if, you submitted an application to our department and you received that email, hey, here's the details for your interview, and you have that interview with our department. Feel free to reach out to us. We can most definitely help you with the mock interview to help you practice and get a little bit more comfortable with some of the questions and provide feedback. So please feel free to reach out to us. We are available to help you. This is our QR code, so you can schedule a virtual career consultation with us and we can assist you. Again, we help with resume, statement of qualifications, mock interviews, helping build that CalCareers, or say you have some questions on some of the classifications, we can also assist you. I would also like to add that we are also available in person, downtown Sacramento, Tuesdays, Thursdays, 11 to 4. But we have also added a new day as of this month on Wednesdays from 11 to 4. So we are available Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays in downtown Sacramento at the Poppy Pavilion, 715 Peachtree, Sacramento. So, if you're wanting assistance in person, come on by. We have recruiters here to help you. I just had this a great thing that happened, right? I had somebody that I assisted in one of our career consultations. They actually got hired with the Department of Water Resources on April 6th. So they had reached out for a career consultation in January. They reached out in January, scheduled that career consultation. We went through the consultation and we talked about some of those classifications, how they were interested in that, and how to navigate that application process and what is needed to submit the application, the exam. So we went through that career consultation. They submitted their application. They reached back out to me in February. Excuse me. They reached back out to me in February and they actually landed an interview with the Department of Water Resources. So in February, what we did is we scheduled that mock interview. We conducted that mock interview, went through a couple questions together. We were able to provide feedback. They were able to ask questions, about that feedback. So they were able to get a little bit more comfortable with their responses, body language, and how to make some of those responses a little bit stronger. They actually reached out to me last week. They were able to get that position with the Department of Water Resources, and they started April 6th. So that was super exciting that it all started off with a career consultation, right? It all started with a career consultation that they were curious about a position, scheduled one. We went through the process of the application and some of the classifications, the exam, all that good stuff. They submitted their application. They got that interview, went to that mock interview, and they got that position. So I definitely want to encourage everybody, if you have any questions or you're curious about the application process, you need some assistance, feel free to reach out to us. We can definitely help you. And again, we are available virtually and in person. So please scan that QR code if you have any questions, reach out to us. Essentially, when you schedule that virtual career consultation, when you scan that QR code there, it will go ahead and take you to our page. You can schedule an appointment there. We have 4 services that we offer: mock interview, student opportunities, the hiring process, and the careers meeting. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We can definitely help you. And so I just wanted to end it on end it on a little quiz. And this can be, you can type it in the chat, right? So 3 questions here for you. Is the student program only for college students? And you can type that in the chat. You can put yes or no. Awesome. So the student program is, it's not only for college students, it's also for high school, because we have that youth aid opportunity. Number 2, is the apprenticeship program an online program? Yes or no again?
No.
No, it is not. It is not an online program. It is actually a hands-on program. So again, a very hands-on program where you are able to learn and gain experience in that classroom setting. So not an online program. And what days is our team available for in-person assistance? You can type it in the chat. You can just abbreviate, the days. Awesome. So we are actually available Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Wednesdays is actually an additional day that we're available from 11 to 4. So great job, everybody. Great job on that little mini quiz. And so what I want to do now is I want to thank everybody for joining the webinar. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. I will go ahead and put that QR code on the screen again. So for any questions with applications or recruitment, please feel free to reach out to a member from our team. And thank you so much. I appreciate it. And
Thank
so
you.
now, awesome. And so now, if anybody had any, we want to open up a Q&A, I believe.
Yeah, it looks like Claire has her hand up. Claire, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, thank you so much. I just have a question because I know those are a lot of great stuff on how to apply for a job. I think for students, because we mostly have students here, how is the application different between like a student positions versus just a permanent stay position?
So great question. So the difference in that would be that For any permanent full-time, there is an exam. You have to meet the eligibility through an exam. For student program opportunities, there is no exam that is needed. So that would be the difference that those permanent full-time roles, they require that exam. Not for student program roles. You do not need an exam. All you need is to submit that application. So um, for any students that see a student position they're interested in, you would just go ahead and submit what is needed under the required application documents. That is all that is needed. They can vary. Some of them will require the application, resume, transcripts, cover letter, right? Some of them might require something different. So it all depends on that required application package. But again, the biggest difference is that there is no exam.
I do have a follow-up question. So, where can they apply for the position? And are they supposed to be using the same application to apply for students versus applying for a permanent position?
So, to apply for any student opportunities, you will go ahead and go to Cal Careers, um, and no, the template would be different. So, in Cal Careers, you have the option of creating multiple templates. So, if there was a student opportunity that you're wanting to apply for, you can create that student template, right? That student template for those applications. For other permanent full-time positions, you can actually create another template as well. So in CalCurs, it allows you the ability to create different templates for different positions that you want to apply for.
Thank you. So, what about
Mhm.
after applying for the position? Do students have to go through maybe the interviews or anything like that?
Yeah, so there will still be an interview process. So essentially there will be an interview process. I will say that for anybody who is looking who for anybody who has submitted an application, it takes about 2 to 4 weeks to hear back. And that 2 to 4 weeks will be from that final filing deadline that you see on that job posting. So I would say typically between 2 to 4 weeks. There is a under the job postings, every job posting, there is a hiring unit contact on the bottom there. For any questions on the application, you can definitely reach out to the hiring unit contact listed on that job posting. They would be the go-tos to answer any questions about that application. So you can also even reach out to them even before you submit the application. Maybe some students or job seekers may have questions before submitting the application. They can reach out to that hiring unit contact as well.
Thank you. One last question
Mhm.
for me. So, let's say if I went to the interview, I didn't get a job, am I allowed to reach out to the hiring supervisors or managers or the contact person to just maybe see how I can do better next time?
Yeah, you can definitely reach out. You can definitely reach out to that hiring unit contact to see if they may provide any feedback, right? So yeah, that hiring unit contact can be utilized for questions before the application and even after the application. So they would definitely be somebody that you can go to for feedback. Or what I also recommend is, hey, if you want to reach out to somebody from our team, the recruitment team, we can definitely help you out with a mock interview or help you review any of your professional documents before you submit them. We can also be a great resource.
Thank you. So I
Mhm.
have another question. I'm so sorry. I just have a lot of questions. I know there's a lot of great info, but I still have a lot of questions. So, how flexible are supervisors when they have a student working for them?
They're very flexible, and I did mention that in the presentation where the students, students and managers, they work together on that schedule. So if there's any particular, school schedule, right, they work with you on that schedule to make sure that you're still able to go to class, right? DWR makes sure that they put education first. So essentially, we want to work with you and make sure that, hey, you are still going to school, but you're also getting that experience. So we make sure that we work with you to make sure that that you're still going to school and your schedule is still, we work with you on your schedule to make sure that we're very flexible with that.
Oh, thank you. That's all
Mhm.
my questions.
And Kim, hi,
Yeah.
this is Vivian Dillon, the faculty coordinator. I do have a question similar to Claire. When I go on the Cal Careers and look up
Mhm.
just a student assistant position, right? It's very generic for DWR. There's one posting, and when I go down, it reads, under desirable qualifications, currently pursuing a degree in computer science, computer engineering, MIS, or closely related IT technology. For students who are interested maybe in that office assistant position that isn't listed, so is it the same student assistant position for everything, any of the kind of tracks that you talked about earlier, or will the posting for student assistant for DWR get more specific, or is that just it? Thank you.
Yeah. So they will be very specific. So essentially the I guess the what would be like the umbrella would be the student assistant title. But within these student assistants, there's different I guess niches, right? Maybe one of them would focus more on IT, the other one would focus more of an office setting, or the other one would focus more in say like outreach or something, right? I'm just naming random ones. So it's essentially the student assistant would be the umbrella title, but then within that, there's different, I guess little niches, right? It all depends on what students are interested in. I definitely recommend that before applying, make sure you read through that duty statement. The duty statement will be the go-to for, essentially breaking the role down, what it entails. Something great about it is that, it'll actually have it broken down into percentages. So, if in that duty statement, you see that breakdown, it essentially breaks down the time frame of what that week will look like. So, I would recommend utilize that duty statement, but essentially that student assistant title would be like the umbrella, and then it depends on the niche that a student would be interested in. Any other questions?
Hey Kim, my name is Reza Jamali. I'm a student here at Folsom Lake College. I
Mhm.
do have a question
Yes.
for the analyst one. Um, so I like I applied for the analyst one. I took the test. Well, actually, I haven't filled out the application yet completely. I took the
Hmm.
test. I got a 95,
Yes.
and so that put me like in the first like tier.
Hmm.
Um, but I just wanted to ask, I'm not. I'd like to try to maybe do like the volunteer to try to see exactly what it's like being an analyst because I don't exactly know what they do. I mean, I know based on the duty statement, but I'd like to try to find out in person first. I'm
Hmm.
thinking, I don't know. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I recommend that if you're thinking like, hey, this is something that I really want to pursue, but I want to see if I like it, right? I would recommend, reach out to that email. It was actually volunteer at water.ca.gov. If Claire or Jack, you can add that in the chat, that would be awesome. Um, I would recommend reach out to that email, and that way we can go ahead and see if there's any division within the Department of Water Resources that is looking for a volunteer. That would be a great experience. That would be a great experience for you to get a little familiar of what does that position entail, right? Or what does that role entail? That would be a great way to understand that role a little bit more, get that experience, network, right? But I would definitely recommend doing so. Reach out to that email. Again, it's volunteer at water.ca.gov, and reach out to them. And then again, if they find a match, right? Because there are levels, there is a couple steps in order to complete that, right? Reach out to that, and then once they find that match, and if you're still interested, I would recommend going for it. Again, it's a great way to see if that's something that you really like, right?
Yeah, that sounds good. Thanks, Kim.
Hmm. Any other questions? I think we may have room for one more question. I'll check with Reza, or one more question.
Yes, hello.
Yo,
Yes.
Hi. Besides the salary roles and the hourly roles, are we actively looking to hire students? And if so, how many how many?
For student opportunities for like student assistants and student ENAs, it all depends. it all depends for the particular department and division on what they have going on if they need student assistance. So it
Okay.
can be very different on how many students are needed. I haven't checked the job for the Department of Water Resources today to see how many student opportunities we have at the moment, but it fluctuates, right? It's all very different on the department needs and all that good stuff. So what I would recommend is if you're thinking of pursuing a student opportunity, make it a habit of looking every week, every other week. I will add that positions do have to be posted for a minimum of 10 days. So I would recommend if you're thinking of pursuing that student opportunity, just make it a habit of looking every week. And again, it's hard to tell how many students are needed. Again, it depends on the
I
department
understand.
needs.
And then just quickly, like, where can I find these postings? I'm looking at the CalCareers website and I can't find
Yeah,
anything.
so if you go on calcareers.ca.gov, you can go ahead and filter it through the filters on there on student assistant, or you can put youth aid, or you can put student assistant E&A. So I would recommend using those filters at the top. You can filter to find those positions, or if you're thinking, hey, I'm only interested in a certain department, you can also filter by department.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, I think we're running out of time, so I just want to say thank you everyone for the great questions, and thank you DWR team for answering the questions. Also, thank you Clary and Jack for taking care of the questions in the chat. Thank you so much, Kim, again for sharing that information with us. We really appreciate you and the team from the California Department of Water Resources for taking the time to speak with our students. So before we end today's session, we really appreciate if you could take a moment to complete a short anonymous poll. Your feedback helps us to understand how these info sessions are supporting you and which topics you find most helpful so we can continue improving and better tailoring future events to your interests. So I'm gonna go ahead and launch the poll. All right, it's being launched. And yeah, in the meantime, I want to say thank you everyone for taking a moment to complete that. We really appreciate your input. And also thank you again, the WR team for their effort and putting their time to be here and pass the valuable information to our students. And thank you everyone who attended. And we're just gonna give a few minutes for everyone to go through the poll. And the answers are completely anonymous, just FYI. Oh, I was muted. So I was just saying that I ended the poll and I just want to say thank you everyone for attending today. And we hope to see you at our future internship info sessions and have a great rest of your day, everyone.